Hello world. There's no other way to start this but to go. I don't know where all this information came from, but unlocking the true identity of the Sphinx has unlocked the world for me. I ask, was Vegeta real? Or was she just a made-up Egyptian deities? A myth from the earlier Sumerian gods? And if so, what happened to her? Why haven't we heard these stories before? We have. They're all over the world, in different cultures and different texts, but we choose not to believe. Before I can proceed, I must go over a few things first. Big Bang Theory or creation both prove my point. Big Bang first. The first forms of life slithered in the ocean, millions of years developing, then land mammals, millions of years developing, then man, the earliest ones with a tail, or creation. 90% of the world believes in some sort of God. Created sea life and birds first, land mammals second, and man days later. And the common thread in all of this is the order. Water, sea life, animals, and man. How does this all apply to the Sphinx? Fact. What was the dinosaur? According to modern academia, skeptics, scholars, researchers, and all the museums around the world, 250 million years ago, before the Ice Age, the Megalosaurus, the Iguanodon, the Halosaurus, the serpents that ruled the world. Officials call them the ruling reptiles. The Archosauruses, a group that included birds and crocodiles. Sound familiar? A very important link when talking about the Sphinx. Yes, the dinosaur, but we perceive the dinosaur very differently. We were taught that the dinosaurs didn't exist with man. False statement. In all accounts, man evolved last. How about the first small humans with a tail, afraid of the big world around it, not sure if it was going to exist? Or the caveman or the Neanderthal man? Fact, dinosaurs existed before man. But the way we modern humans see it now, the caveman was dumb. The Neanderthal man was dumb. The pictures they drew was dumb. Especially the dinosaur with his big body, big head, small brain. Was the dumbest of them all. But what if we were wrong? Is it just possible that an anomaly, retained all his brain space, learned how to use his brain on the level of a genius to communicate, talk? So religious people, this is where things get very confusing at. So Adam and Eve went into the garden. That wise, old, crafty trickster, a serpent, reptile, lizard, or dinosaur talked, pled his case in front of God's creation? Yes, one did. Vegeta, the ruler of Upper and Lower Mesopotamians. Before I can proceed, I must cover one more thing. Cave drawings, petroglyphs, petrographs, hieroglyphs, reliefs, carvings, tablets are all the same thing, the way the earliest form of humans communicated. We all were children first. Kindergarten, first years of school, those pictures we made. We brought them home. Mommy, Daddy, look, here I am. There's Mommy, there's you, Dad, there's the dog, and here I am. And there's the sun. As modern parents, we look at the picture like, what? All we recognize is the yellow spot for the sun. But to that child, a lower form of human, that is an accurate account of what they see, how they see it, and where it is, and how it's supposed to be. But somehow, some way, the modern parent was taught that it was mythology, legend, fairy tale. It doesn't make sense. To who? The child, the lower form, the creator, or to the modern day parent who has been manipulated, deceived, programmed to believe. About 300 million years ago, in the early Mesopotamian area, the dinosaurs ruled the world. You had your famous Tyrannosaurus rex, your Triceratops, your Brontosauruses. You had your infamous Loch Ness Monster, and your infamous wing type, but we call them dragons. There are all types of species of dinosaurs. Small dinosaurs, medium-sized dinosaurs, humongous dinosaurs. The dinosaurs ruled. Understanding regulations and principles. Controlling every activity within a particular area, dominating the people, showing ultimate power, authority over every person. The dinosaurs ran everything. They weren't only these menacing, terrorizing, bully, massive, horrifying creatures, they also had a loving, caring, family, nurturing side. They cared for their young. They nurtured. They took care of their kids. They raised as a family would. The dinosaurs are very structured and smart. They were organized as a family. Take a look at the list of presidents. You know they are important. You know they are not the same person. And you know they all didn't live at the same time. It's their sets. They started the first royal hierarchy, the first royal family on the planet, the dinosaurs, Wajida and her royal legion of dinosaurs. And this went on for millions of years, and man was stuck in the middle, had two choices, worship or die. The early Mesopotamians, the cradle of civilization, the beginnings of everything, writing, time, calendars. I'd like to give a whole bunch of credit to Zachariah Stitchin, Eric Warneke, and the whole Ancient Alien team for teaching us about the Anunnaki, an advanced race of beings that crash landed in the early Mesopotamian area, changing earlier man's DNA, teaching them a system of writing, astrology, science, math, and a wealth of other things. But the worst thing they did was call themselves gods and implement fake gods. The Ancient Alien team did an excellent job on telling us the things the Anunnaki achieved and accomplished. But they didn't explain what they did to the dinosaur. All we know is that a comet killed the dinosaur. But that's not true. When two advanced races meet, the result is always war. Here's the greatest war we never heard about. Now, either the best thing or the worst thing to happen to mankind. Another race was watching the planet. You can see the galaxy above its head, Earth, and the solar system. Seeing, you can clearly see they knew what the sun was, the solar system, or the astrology, the Anunnaki. A racer beam that crash-landed, crashed, thrown, fell, the fallen. I like to call them the ancient ones, the secret keepers. Wait a minute, slow down. It's a fake-ass internet story. I'd like to give thanks and appreciation to all my true brothers and sisters around the world that opened my eyes up to these things, to a one true God. So, these two intelligent races met. Who knows what they talked about or agreed upon, but they settled upon something. But they tried to trick, fool, and domesticate the dinosaurs. But the dinosaurs, not knowing fear, not knowing the equal, never been conquered, quickly and savagely turned on the visitors. In a savage, gruesome, almost high-tech war broke out between the two visitors, as told in the Hindu text, the Mahabharata. They were fighting all over the planet, fighting to the very death for survival. The war lasted for centuries and centuries. The ancient ones, using all sorts of high-tech weapons, spacecrafts, laser beams, every high-tech device we can think of that we see on Star Trek, they probably used. Now the ancient ones were big. They stood as tall as a 4-story building. That's why all the megalithic buildings of that era were huge, humongous, megalithic, for protection from the dinosaurs. You must give the dinosaurs credit. They were fighting for their land, fighting for their namesake, and fighting for their survival. And to the amazement and disappointment of the visitors, they were beating them and forced the visitors to make a choice. They started fighting amongst themselves. We don't know what the fight was about, but they started beefing in-house. All I could think of is, thank you, Gilgamesh. And quickly, they turned to DNA genetic testing. They started gathering DNA amongst themselves, gathering, storing, and they crossbred and contaminated the whole planet. First, they started with the animals, feeble at first, kind of mascots. Your minotaurs, your half zebra, half gazelles, your half dragons, half mans. They contaminated the whole planet in search of an ally to help fight with them against the dinosaur. And they came up with one, the Apis bull, their crowning achievement, recently found in the deserts. 2019, the Apis bull coffin was opened, and what did they find inside? Bull remains. A treasure trove of DNA. How does this legend goes? The Apis bull, blindly and wild, they smashed his bones and buried them in giant coffins. So they did the worst. They started genetic testing on the man. In these next scenes, you can see the intestinal organs, hearts, surgical equipment, the patients crying out of sheer agony, horror, and torture of what's going on around them. They dissected, took apart, and created a new man. One of the most confusing verses in the Bible. Let us create a man in our image. And that's exactly what they did. Created a man in their image. A man that could walk straight. A man that can comprehend. A man that could think. Yes, modern man. But two major problems remain. They taught the builders too well. That's how we got the writings in all these buildings and monuments to this day. The builders became the teachers, and they started teaching the old ways. That's how we got the Inca stones and the hieroglyphs and all the buildings from the builders. Now that just leaves Vegeta and her 7 billion loyal dinosaurs that got vilified, demonified, turned into the world's worst enemies for defending their lives. No comet killed the dinosaur. They've been dissecting and testing on different ways of killing all species on this planet for centuries. They genetically designed a bomb specifically to kill the dinosaurs. The ancient ones did the unspeakable. They dropped an atomic bomb directly on the planet Earth, the infamous land bridge, shattering and blowing the planet apart, causing the very ice age, destroying and incinerating the infamous land bridge that connected Africa to the Antarctic, a mere 2,000 miles away at the time, all in hope of destroying every dinosaur stronghold on the planet. Starting with the African continent, you had Queen Vegeta, ruler. In Australia, you have the rainbow serpent. In Alaska or Arctic, you have Buto, her mate. And on Central and North America, you had Quasimodo, or the horned serpent, or the Hopi Indians, totally destroying the infamous land bridge that connected the tip of Africa to the continents of the Arctic, causing the greatest disaster in man's history, the Ice Age. I am bounded to nobody. I know nobody. I dropped out of the school in the 7th grade. I don't own my own house. I don't own a car. And I did all this on a crappy, broke-screened cell phone.